There's a lot of great things happening at Tennessee Athletics.
I believe this city is going to be upside down tonight.
Season-long party continues on Rocky Top.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Everything Orange podcast, and boy is it a good one today. She is a transfer senior cross-country and distance runner who was a significant addition to the Lady Vols this season. Over the weekend at pre-nationals, she led the Lady Vols to a 5th place team finish with her personal 12th overall finish. Although, being in the position that she is in today didn't just happen to her by accident. The adversity and trauma that she has had to overcome to even be in the position that she is in today is honestly unimaginable. Not only is she athletically talented, but she's probably one of the most humble and authentic people that I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. And I promise you that when you finish this episode, you will walk away truly inspired. Please welcome to the Everything Orange podcast, Ashley Jones. Ashley Jones, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
I'm so excited to be here.
Can you give everybody a little bit of background about yourself and how you grew up, both in California and Colorado with your mom, your dad, your twin sister, and 2 brothers?
Yes. I was born and raised in Southern California with my 3 siblings and my mom and my dad. It was such a fun time growing up. We were super adventurous and very competitive as well as far as athletics go. And our weekends would consist of a lot of soccer, and my brothers both played. Older brother played lacrosse, my younger brother plays lacrosse, and growing up it was just a fun time. We would really enjoy family time together and meals when we could get them, with my dad traveling a lot, but it was such an amazing time. And when I was 11, I moved to Colorado, and that's definitely home now.
Okay.
And I just live south of Denver, and
nice.
love the state. It's provided my family and my siblings with such great friends and community, and the sports only grew with age as far as wanting to be more competitive. And I've played soccer my whole life, and that was until my high school years, and then found track a little later in my high school career. But my childhood was filled with some really fun memories, and some fun memories of RVing with my family. We had an RV, and we would RV all across the U.S. and stop at national parks and campgrounds and roast s'mores and go on hikes. And so that's what filled a lot of my younger years.
We talked about you have a twin sister too.
I do.
So
Yes.
what was that like growing up with like a built-in best friend?
Yes, the built-in best friend. Yeah, she's incredible. I tell everyone she's my better half. And growing up, we did so much together, and there was not many times where we were doing things separate. And because of that, we've just grown to know each other so well and know how to support each other. And it is that built-in best friend where you're never doing something alone, and you always have a supporter. And my soccer years too, she plays soccer still, and it was really fun. We were like a little dynamic duo, but she's a goalkeeper and I was a forward, and so we would tag team. Like, she would get the ball in the back and punt it as a goalkeeper to me as a forward in the front, and go try to score. And so it was really fun. And growing up, because we had that support for each other, we've been able to support each other through our college years now, and the friendship has just grown, and so I'm so grateful for her. It's weird to spend time apart, but I'm grateful for our friendship a lot.
Definitely. And then can you talk too about the support system that you had and your parents growing up, and them, taking you to soccer practices and being there for all your games, and what it meant to have them as your ultimate support system?
Yes, my parents are incredible, and my mom's just outstanding. She's an incredible support system, and she's always been. She's been kind of the glue to our family, and such a leader in faith. And she played tennis when she was growing up as well. And my dad was a super competitive athlete, playing football and then dabbling in some other sports, but they both led by example of a beautiful marriage and beautiful friendships, and they really prioritized family time. And like I said before, those family dinners were super important, and we'd sit down and we'd all share about our days, and we'd have like fun Star Wars trivia nights.
Oh, fun.
And like, it was so fun, so fun. And I think because of that, we're such a close-knit family, and we're all in our different directions now, but it's such a deep like care and love for each other. Yeah.
So growing up, looking back on your childhood, you experienced a lot of adversity. The first one I want to talk about was on March 3rd, 2016. That was one of two experiences that your family would have to go through that would change your life forever.
Yes, it was the end of my 8th grade year when I lost my dad to a sudden heart attack. And as we talked about, and I tell people, he's the greatest man that I've had the privilege of meeting and experiencing those years together.
Yeah.
And he was such an incredible support for my family. He would do anything and everything for us. And no one should ever experience the loss of someone they love. And it was really hard to grasp at that time, at that age, what that really meant for my life. And it was like missing someone you love so deeply. It's really hard to even put into words. And the grieving process is really hard as well, because everyone deals with grief differently.
Right.
And so as a family, we just clung together and clung to our faith, and knowing that the God of the universe has perfect plans for us would lead us through this time of a lot of trial. And so I miss him every day. And one of the reasons why I love running is because I know his legacy lives on through me. And as an athlete himself, he would just scream at the top of his lungs at soccer games and drive us to every practice and be at every game. And so what an honor it is to carry on his legacy and my mom's. But it was 3 months after my dad had passed away when I was involved in an ATV accident where the ATV rolled on top of me and my right arm and pinned me under the ground and lacerated my arm. And so it was only a miracle that day that I'm alive, I'm sitting here with you, and we would find out that my arm was broken in many places, but the only thing that wasn't lacerated was my main artery in my arm.
Wow.
And so, again, to
just
tell
got
you
chills.
that it's only a miracle from the Lord that I'm here, it truly is. And so we were in the mountains, and I was walking away from the accident, and I was like, I need to pray right now. And so I prayed, and the bleeding stopped. And I got to the hospital, and I needed no blood transfusions when I got to the hospital, which, again, doesn't make sense from an outside point of view just because of how exposed my arm was. And so I have it tattooed on my ankle, but Jehovah Rapha means God the healer. And from that, I've continued to really press into my faith, knowing that the Lord provides healing. If it's not on this side of heaven, he will provide healing one day. And so that's the hope that I cling to. And it was a lot of days in the hospital. I was 14. Like, trying to grasp that as a really young girl was hard. But knowing that the Lord provides understanding too, there was days where it didn't make sense, like why I had peace or why I had strength. And I did have strength, and that's because of the Lord providing. And so even in the midst of a lot of trial and a lot of grieving, like I grieved someone that I loved so much, but then you also grieve something that was physically with you that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And a different form of grieving. But as we were talking about earlier, I was right-handed, and so I had to relearn everything. And had to learn how to write again and how to do my hair and just all the little things in life that we might take for granted.
Exactly.
And just started there.
When you were in the hospital, it was just a week after your accident that somebody pretty inspirational reached out to you, Bethany Hamilton,
Yes.
who was attacked by a shark, lost a limb when she was just 13 years old. Having somebody like her in your corner and support you, how special was that to help get you through those first couple of days, weeks, and months?
For sure. I mean, her team reaching out to me and being able to talk to her in the hospital was so incredibly encouraging to be like, you have been through this. This is a whole new world that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
And to be able to talk to someone that's like, I know what you're going through.
Right. And you're going to be okay.
Yes, you're going to be okay. And what are your questions? Let's talk through it. And she's an incredibly inspiring person and someone that I've looked up to and continue to look up to, as she's a mom now and an athlete and so many other things in her life. An incredible encouragement for anyone that's facing adversity, and to be able to talk to her. And then the community that was also provided with women amputees, that was a huge part of me learning to do all of those little things that I talked about and gain encouragement and friendships too.
And then in the weeks after your surgery, I'm curious to know, how did you view yourself post-surgery? Obviously, losing a limb was a pretty jarring experience, but it's something that people can either, I mean, I'm not speaking from personal experience, obviously, but something that people can either, shy away from and want to hide and stay in the shadows of, or embrace the new life and the new outlook that you now are living.
Yes, I think that's a great question. And I knew after all the adversity that I'd been through that the Lord wasn't taking me through this for no reason, and knowing that he had perfect plans for me. And so in the hospital, I had a lot of questions, but one thing that I didn't hesitate on was, this is the new me, and the Lord would provide after that. And I've never been self-conscious of being an amputee, because it is the new me, and what an opportunity is to embrace our scars and to embrace the things that we've gone through. And I understand it's a very outward physical difference, and people notice it, and it's not something you see every day, but what an encouragement for other people to be like, it can be done. We will get through this, and just embracing the difficulties of it and knowing that it will make me stronger. It will give me more perspective, and being able to latch on to that and use that as encouragement when there are really hard days.
It's so empowering, because it just feels like you didn't even question it. You were like, this is who I am. It doesn't even change who I am. Like, you might look at me and see a difference, but I'm still me. I'm still the same person that you knew and that I always will continue to be. It doesn't change anything about who I am now.
Yes, and it was so encouraging too, as I talked about, like the community that I was able to have back in Colorado. They did the same thing. They saw me and they knew that I looked different, but they knew who I was. They knew the dreams that I had, the goals, and just who I was by nature, and they never questioned those ambitions still. And so they just encouraged me along the path too, and not being like, they would check in on me and be like, are you okay?
Right.
And how can we support you? But they never were like, not embracing who I was now.
And through it all, you've mentioned it, but you kept your faith, and it's what kept you grounded.
Yeah, it says in John 14:27, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he's comforting them. And it says in John 14:27, he says, "Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. I do not give as the world gives. Do not be afraid." And so that's kind of where I gained inspiration, and I think that's been a testament of my life of when things didn't make sense, the Lord's peace made sense and made those environments where it was really hard and we didn't know what tomorrow would look like. His peace surrounded those moments, and my faith has been something that even when everything was shaken and things that you knew were no longer what you knew, the Lord was steady and will continue to stay steady. And that's been kind of the resounding echo of my life of when things don't look the way that you thought they would, he's still there, and he's still the Lord, never changing. Yeah.
Even with something as, life-changing, two life-changing events that you've been through, you have these big goals for yourself, and you weren't going to shy down from them. And one of them was that you wanted to return to playing sports again.
Yes.
What was that like for you, knowing I'm not going to let this stop me, and I'm still going to do what I want to do at the end of the day?
Yes. Yeah, I would say to the accident and my competitive drive before, it didn't stop the day my accident happened. And that's kind of what carried me through, that no hesitation in my life. It's like, I am in occupational therapy, I am in physical therapy, but there was never a question that I was gonna not return to sport. And so I was a soccer player before, and so that's what I knew, and I came back to soccer. And for my freshman year in high school, I played soccer and played club soccer and got to a point too where I was taking some really hard collisions, and knowing how important my left arm is, I had the hard conversation of, is this what my future is going to look like as well? Just knowing that I need to protect my left arm. And so we had the hard conversation and decided that soccer was no longer something that safely I wanted to pursue, and instead was introduced to an incredible world of triathlons and started competing in para-triathlons starting my junior year. And when I was competing, it was a lot of solo training and trying to figure it out by myself as a new sport. But I reached out to our high school track coach and asked him if I could come run with the team, just have some camaraderie and have people to run with, and started running with them. Loved running with a team, and he was like, you need to jump in a race. And so I did. I didn't know what I was doing, but jumped into a mile race and fell in love with it. And the rest is kind of history, but that's how I found running, and no longer compete in triathlons. That was an amazing part of my life, but helped me transition into running, and that's where I find myself now.
So being an athlete now, I want you to talk about what you have to go through when it comes to training, weightlifting, getting your body prepared for these long races. Because for somebody to look at you and see the upper body amputation that you have, they could be pretty ignorant in saying, oh, well, it's just an arm. What does that have to do with your legs? And how does that affect how you have to run? You can still run. But your coach said in the I want to quote this right, in the Runner's World article that they wrote about you, Coach Copeland said, the arms make the runner while the legs are the transportation, which I thought was just so well put, because they work in tandem. Like, you have to have, one with the other working together to be able to achieve big things. So can you talk about what that has been like for you and how you've had to overcome a lot of different obstacles to get you prepared to be a collegiate athlete?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, they asked me a lot, like, you're a runner, it just involves your legs. What's the difference? And I understand where they're coming from for sure, but the arms are super important. And I think what I've learned in this sport is the arms are super important, but there's also a lot of things that come with my amputation. And one of those is there's an imbalance of my upper body. And because of that, my rotation when I run is different. And also, my lower body takes a hit because of the rotation and the weight distribution being off. And so specifically, like, one side of my body takes a greater hit than the other side, and that's where a lot of my injuries have come from. And because my back rotates not naturally, I have to get work on my back all the time just to stay in the sport and to stay healthy. And so, yes, I understand, like, it is a lot in the lower body, but you have to have your core and your torso working, like you said, in tandem with each other and keep them strong. And so in the weight room too, we're very intentional about being safe and being adapting what we need to in order to make sure that my left side's working and my right side. And so if we're doing an exercise and the right arm is not being used, we want to make sure that we're adapting it to make sure that both sides of my back are being strengthened, and just adapting a lot of different exercises. And that's been a fun part of it too. And I try to keep, like, it is the fun part. It's learning how to do it, and maybe someone hasn't done it before and maybe they have, but there's a lot of behind the scenes, and I'm grateful to be healthy. I'm grateful to be doing what I'm doing, but it comes with a lot of intentionality and just focusing on the small things and reading your body and going from there.
And then when you look at the collegiate space and when you look at the athletes, there's few and far between that have similar situations as yourself. Being somebody that is an upper body amputee, you don't come across many of those in the collegiate space. How have you been able to create a legacy for yourself and for those that thought maybe it wasn't ever possible to be in the position that you are today?
Yeah, I think resoundingly I would just tell people it can be done. And it can be done, and you just have to see what you're capable of, and putting yourself and challenging yourself that the world is your oyster, and hard work, yes, and dedication and believing in yourself. And I've just, again, fallen back to believing in my faith and knowing that that's something that's carried me through. But what an opportunity and an honor to be able to encourage others, whether they're an amputee or not, to be like, we all face trials and we all face really hard times, and some of it is behind closed doors, but to encourage them that there are hard days, but then there's really brilliant, amazing days. And so that's where I find myself, of like wrestling with the hard days, but then when the great days come and you're able to enjoy them, that's where I want to encourage people that we can continue to move forward and we can continue to encourage each other.
Coming now into your senior season here at Tennessee, what did you see within Tennessee's cross-country program, the coaching staff, that made you want to come here and be a Lady Vol?
Oh, yeah. It made sense from every degree of the imagination. I love Tennessee. My sister's close, and so we can see each other when we have free time, which is few and far between, but we're closer to each other.
Yeah.
And then I got here, and I met Coach Carlson, and I met the women on the cross-country team, and it all made sense. I believe in Coach Carlson's training. I believe in what he's trying to build here, and not only does he push me as an athlete, but he truly believes in who I am as a person and supports me, and I know he has my back. And so it's been an awesome process to get to know him more and then get to know the women more. And they are one of the most supportive group of women that I've ever met, in just providing great training partners, and then we're laughing on the cool down, and it's a great balance of training. And so I've loved every second here, and it made sense from every degree. And looking to the future too, the master's programs I'm really excited about, and being here and seeing all that it has to offer.
I have one more question too about just being a Lady Vol athlete, because I think the Summit Blue and the legacy of being a Lady Vol comes with this empowerment, which is just, it embodies your story and who you are today and empowering others. How have you seen yourself just embracing being a Lady Vol here and being a couple months into the season? What's it meant to you to be able to represent Tennessee and carry on the Lady Vol legacy?
Yes. To carry on the Lady Vol legacy is super humbling, to know that there's been incredible athletes that have gone before you, and then now it's your turn. And it's your turn to carry on that legacy. And they fought through a lot of trials themselves, and we hear stories like at the Lady Vol Summit about their stories and their testimonies of a lot of hard work. And so it's just, again, building momentum through the program to know that they've done it before you, and hopefully to encourage people that it can be done after you. And so, yeah, it is a very unique legacy that all the Lady Vol athletes carry, and it's really exciting to think about that. And it's encouraging to know how much the University of Tennessee also supports female student athletes.
Yes.
And that's a really unique opportunity as well.
We're about to get into the postseason with the cross-country team.
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to right now, given that you've been halfway through the season now and you're about to experience, the really exciting, energetic times that you've been leading up the entire season to?
Yes. So the front end of the season has been to build a lot of momentum for this postseason, and I'm really excited about all of it. The team's getting antsy too, and they're excited and ready. And we had our first race at Furman, and it went really well. Good. Then we've had a month of really awesome training that's building that momentum for what's to come. And so we have big goals. I know that the girls are capable of it, and so it's just believing in those goals as well, and getting to the line healthy, and knowing that the University of Tennessee is ready, and we're excited to see what can happen. Yeah.
And then you do have 2 more years of eligibility, so we're still figuring out what we want to do, if we want to keep competing, if we want to get a master's, all that stuff. But when you do see your time as a collegiate athlete ending, you're really into kinesiology. That's what you're majoring in right now. How have your experiences shaped your interests and then carrying that into a career after your time as an athlete ends?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, my experiences have definitely shaped my interest and curiosity in the realm of kinesiology and learning about our body, and then also how well it pairs with being an athlete and knowing what's happening on a molecular level, and then translating it into training. And so it has sparked a lot of interest also post-collegiately, what that might look like in rehabilitation or research, and really getting excited about that, and hopefully using my personal experience to get involved with a research team that's interested, or rehabilitation for adaptive athletes. And so that's kind of what I'm envisioning right now.
Yeah.
And we'll see what that looks like in a couple years, but I'm really excited about that.
Like we talked about, you've already faced so much adversity in your life, losing your dad and then going through such a traumatic accident yourself. When you look at what you've been through, how do you see yourself shaped into the person that you are today based off of all that you've been through?
Yeah, another great question. It has really made me who I am today, because it's given me a perspective that I never thought I'd gain. And do I wish any of this hurt upon anyone? No. However, it has given me the chance to embrace hurt in many different arenas, and given me the chance to really see the strength that is within me and the capabilities of the human body, even facing really hard things, what we're so capable of. And so I think in being able to get a perspective that you never thought, but embracing it and not trying to stray away from it, has been where I find myself, and kind of where I gain a lot of strength as well. But yeah, I think our challenges do make us who we are, and again, like embracing them and not straying away from them.
And I want to just go back to your dad for a second. When you think of, him being that supporter growing up in your life, what would you think that he'd say about you today, seeing all that you've been through and all that you've overcome?
Yeah, I think that moment of imagining him on the sidelines of a cross-country race is what encourages me a lot, and what an opportunity is to carry on his legacy of encouragement and support, and the way that he loved his friends and his family, and then also loved sports, and being able to challenge myself and know that his legacy lives on in me, and not taking that flippantly and taking that seriously, that I know that he would smile and continue to cheer on me and my siblings. And so, yeah, it holds a special place in my heart for sure. But I know that I'll see him again one day, and how awesome will it be to tell him all the memories, and I know he sees them as well. But yeah.
So now I want to transition to talk a little bit about yourself, a little bit more about who you are outside of your sport. I know you don't have much downtime these days in the middle of the season, but when you do get downtime, I'm pretty sure I could find you at a local coffee shop in town, because you and your friends go to as many as you can. You rank them, right? You have a spreadsheet of the top ones in town. So I want you to break out the spreadsheet. I want to see the top 5 that you have been to, and I want to hear all about them.
It's growing, because
How many have you been to so far?
We've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've been to 12.
Wow.
12, and this is a collective spreadsheet too.
Okay.
Shout out to my teammate Brooke.
Very nice. Very nice.
So she's on the spreadsheet as well.
Okay, we're working as a team on this.
We're working on a team. Yep. And the spreadsheet, we have the coffee shop name, and then we have my ranking, and then Brooke's ranking.
Okay.
And it's very precise. There's a lot that goes into the ranking.
Okay, so
of the
are there
coffee
different
shop.
levels to it? Like, do you take into consideration like the atmosphere and like maybe the music, the wait time, like things like that? Are we talking about those?
For sure.
Okay.
I think at number 5 we have Seed Coffee Shop.
Okay.
Good ambiance.
Okay.
Good coffee. I had their black coffee. Plenty of places to sit down. So it all
Good.
tailors into the
Okay.
ranking.
Just you can go there and you're guaranteed you're gonna have a good experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Very vibey.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Good.
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 And then at the top of the list we have Backroads Market, which I don't have all the coffee shops yet in the spreadsheet.
Okay.
So we're still working on that.
Okay.
However, Backroads Market is a market, like a little boutique shop plus a coffee shop.
I love it
Plenty of
already.
seating.
Okay.
great coffee. I had actually tea there, which I need to go back to rank the coffee.
Okay.
But the ambiance was enough to give it a good rank. Also, yeah, I was telling you earlier, I make my own cold brew.
Yes.
And I have my own coffee station at the house.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it gets the job done for sure.
Okay, cold brew, do you also dabble in espresso?
I do like espresso. It makes a good latte,
Okay.
but I'm kind of like black coffee all the way,
Are you
which
really?
is a little intense, I know.
It
So,
is.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to teach me how to get into it because people tell me like, oh, do you want coffee with your creamer? Because
Yeah.
I do put a lot of creamer in my coffee. Shamelessly,
Yeah.
I do.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
maybe you can help me get into black coffee. I
You
know
just
it's
gotta
better
try
for
it a
you.
little at a time.
Yeah.
And it's a very different taste than a sugary latte.
My pumpkin
however.
spice.
Yeah, the pumpkin spice. The pumpkin spice will get to you.
So where do you stand when it comes to Starbucks,
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin', the chains?
Yes, hard question. However, I'm all about the authentic coffee
'Kay.
and the local coffee shops. So it's not that deep, but I would rather go to a
Right.
local coffee shop, experience local roasters or whatever that might be, and unique coffee. And I think Starbucks coffee is a little burnt. I know that might be a hot take, but
Okay.
if you're getting black coffee, it's a little burnt.
Okay.
And so that's why I like to go to other places.
Do you prefer hot coffee? Is that like usually what you're drinking when you order a coffee? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It comes with seasons. So
Okay.
the summertime, it was cold brew, little bit of creamer.
Okay.
And now we're transitioning to black coffee. And it's
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah,
So-
it's exciting time for you. You live for these moments, the seasonal
right.
changes.
Yeah, it's the little things in life. It
really
the little
is.
things in life.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you the infamous question that I ask everybody on this podcast when they come, and it is: when you sing Rocky Top, do you woo?
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah, we're learning all the chants, and that's definitely one of them that goes really hard.
No, not
Yeah.
even any hesitation. You fully always woo.
No hesitation, as with anything in life.
Yes, exactly. Because people don't woo, and so they have their reasonings, but
Oh, yeah.
you embrace it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pom-pom.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. Your football games, woo! Yep, gotcha. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the podcast. I just think that you are so inspiring. Your story is so inspiring, and what you've done and the life that you've made for yourself is incredible. So thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable and telling your story, and I just appreciate you coming on here so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a really fun time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Everything Orange. I told y'all it was going to be a good one. So now be sure to follow us on all of our Vol Sports platforms so you don't miss out on a single update. But before we let you go, here's a look at everything going on with Tennessee athletics this upcoming week, starting with tonight. The Lady Vol soccer team is on the road against the Missouri Tigers at 7 p.m. Then tomorrow night, the Lady Vol volleyball team takes on the Arkansas Razorbacks at 6:30 p.m. in Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. On Saturday, football is on the road against the Alabama Crimson Tide, and kickoff is at 3:30 p.m. Then later in the evening, softball is on the road for a fall ball game against Duke at 6:30 p.m. On Sunday, softball travels up the road from Durham, North Carolina to Raleigh, North Carolina to take on NC State at noon. While here at home, the soccer team hosts the Texas A&M Aggies at 2 p.m. in Regal Soccer Stadium. Then on Monday, the men's tennis team competes in the week-long M15 Tallahassee tournament in Florida. And lastly, on Wednesday, volleyball travels to Columbia, Missouri to take on the Tigers at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, that's a wrap on Rocky Top. Tune in next Thursday for another episode of Everything Orange. Bye, y'all.